Most anglers blame bad luck when fishing fails in summer, but the real problem is often the lure choice. Today we're counting down 10 lures, 5 that consistently fail when water temperatures climb past 80 degrees, and 5 that actually produce results. From lures that lose 90% of their strikes to one summer setup that boosts hookups by 160%, this ranking is backed by real field data from lakes across the country. Rising temperatures change everything: metabolism, oxygen levels, where fish sit, and what triggers them to bite. Some of the lures on both sides of this list will genuinely surprise you. We're starting at number 10, with a lure so light that warm water turns it into dead weight. In the 10th place, ultra-light jigs turn into dead weight once summer water temperatures pass 27 degrees Celsius. Fish metabolism spikes in this heat, but so does their need for oxygen, and that changes the rules. With dissolved oxygen dropping below 5 milligrams per liter, most bass and panfish lose about 30% of their willingness to chase. Here's the kicker. A sub-gram jig barely moves the water at all, clocking in at less than 0.2 inches per second on the retrieve. That's not enough disturbance for a fish's lateral line to even notice, especially when the fish are already stressed. Wheeler Lake field trials tell the story. Ultralight jigs produce just 0.2 bites per hour, while a 4-gram jig in the same zone landed 1.4. That's a 90% drop in hookups, all because the featherweight lure can't cut through the metabolic noise of midsummer. When the water's hot, fish want a meal that feels real, not a micro lure they can't even sense. Number 9. Neon bright jerkbaits lose their magic the moment summer turns a lake into a crystal clear window. Under blazing sun, water acts like a giant color filter. Red and orange vanish fast by the time a neon red lure drops to 5 meters. 70% of that color is gone. Blue and green hang on longer, but even those fade as you go deeper. Now add in the science. Most game fish pack UV-sensitive cones in their eyes, peaking at 360 nanometers, but those cones are tuned for the subtle shimmer of real prey, not the blinding glow of a highlighter pen. When the Beer-Lambert law kicks in, those neon dyes turn invisible at depth, or worse, look unnatural and out of place. Lake Huron field tests back this up. Neon jerkbait scored a flat 0 bites per hour, while a green pumpkin worm, matched to the fish's actual cone sensitivity, pulled in 3.2 bites per hour. That is an 85% strike penalty, all because the color spectrum just does not line up with what fish see in high-clarity summer water. 8th place, loud topwater poppers turn a summer afternoon into a sensory dead zone. When the sun climbs high and the glare index more than doubles, every ripple on the surface reflects a blinding sheet of light. Bass don't linger in that glare, they slip beneath it, seeking cooler, dimmer water where oxygen levels hold steady. At noon, with surface temperatures pushing 30 degrees Celsius and dissolved oxygen dipping close to 4 milligrams per liter, the odds are stacked against any lure that stays on top. Field data from Lake Catherine spells it out. Poppers managed just 0.5 bites per hour, while a frog-style topwater designed for shade pockets scored 2.7. That's a 78% drop in strikes for the popper. The problem isn't just visual overload. Acoustic masking kicks in too. The constant slap and splash of a popper gets lost in the midday noise, making it nearly invisible to fish tuning out surface chaos. Physics and the field numbers agree. At high noon, surface fireworks only scare bass deeper. Number 7. Bargain bin soft plastics lose their edge the moment summer heat settles in. When water temperatures push past 28 degrees Celsius, the chemistry inside these low-grade baits starts to unravel. The glass transition point for most cheap polymers sits right at that mark. Above it, the plastic softens, scent molecules escape, and the bait turns limp. Lab tests show that at 32 degrees, 85% of the infused scent is gone within half an hour. That's not just a lab curiosity. On Pine Lake, anglers using discount worms averaged 0.1 bites per hour, while those tossing premium, slow-release plastics pulled in 2.5. The science comes down to scent diffusion. As the plastic matrix loosens, volatile attractants evaporate almost instantly, leaving behind a rubbery, odorless lure. Fish in hot water rely even more on their sense of smell, since visibility drops and their metabolism demands quick, energy-efficient meals. But with 92% scent loss, cheap plastics become invisible to a bass's nose, and the bite rate collapses. Saving a few bucks up front can cost an entire afternoon's worth of strikes when the mercury climbs. Number 6. Oversized deep-diving crankbaits turn into blunt instruments the moment summer pushes bass shallow. These lures are engineered to plummet, dropping at 25 inches per second. They smack bottom in less than half a second in coves less than 5 feet deep. But when the thermocline settles at 15 to 20 feet, and the surface layer hovers at 24 degrees Celsius or higher, bass shift their strike zone to just 3 to 5 feet above that cooler boundary. Instead of gliding through the sweet spot, a 20-foot diver ricochets off the bottom, sending up clouds of silt and creating an unnatural, erratic rebound that fish simply ignore. Field data from Lake Catherine makes it plain. Crankbaits of this size produced 0 bites per hour, while a weighted swim bait matched to the active depth landed 1.9. That is a complete shutout for the crankbait, a 95% loss in strikes compared to a properly tuned alternative. The problem is geometry and physics. The lure's aggressive dive angle overshoots the fish, and every bounce screams wrong place, wrong time. In skinny summer water, big crankbaits don't just miss the mark, they erase your chances entirely. Number 5. Natural color soft plastic worms in green pumpkin turn the summer heat into a bite window. When water clarity soars and bass metabolism slows under the midday sun, subtlety wins out. The green pumpkin shade, clocking in at RGB 348645, mirrors the lake bottom's own reflection spectrum, making the lure blend seamlessly while still standing out just enough for a lurking bass. Field trials on Wheeler Lake prove the point. A slow 0.5 feet per second retrieve with a green pumpkin worm produced 3.2 bites per hour, more than double the 1.4 bite baseline for standard plastics. The secret is not just color. In 30-degree water, the infused scent in premium worms lasts up to 45 minutes, drawing fish even when visibility drops. Bass, with their metabolic engines idling, will not chase flashy or erratic baits, but they will inhale a worm that looks and smells like the real thing. This approach delivers a 150% boost in bites, making the natural color worm a must-have for any angler who wants to match the science of fish vision and behavior to real-world results. Number 4. Paddletail swim baits bring a whole new level of action to your summer lineup. Unlike static worms or heavy cranks, an unweighted paddletail swim bait creates a steady, pulsing vibration as it moves through the water right in the 120 Hz range that lights up a bass's lateral line. That is not just a marketing claim. Hydrodynamic tests show that a 0.8 square inch tail, pulled at 1 foot per second, generates a vibration signature perfectly tuned for fish holding 2 to 4 feet above the thermocline. In these mid-depth zones, where oxygen levels still support active feeding but the surface is too hot, this lure hits the sweet spot. Lake Catherine field trials tell the story. Paddletail swim baits average 2.8 bites per hour, compared to just 1.6 for standard plastics, a 130% boost in real-world strikes. The secret is in the motion. Each tail beat sends a pressure wave at just the right frequency, mimicking the erratic swim of a wounded shad or minnow. Bass sense these vibrations even in murky, low-visibility water, zeroing in for a strike. When summer heat pushes fish out of the shallows but not yet into deep water, the paddletail's mid-water buzz keeps you right in the action zone. Coming to the top 3, topwater frogs slip quietly into the summer equation as the ultimate surface lure when the sun dips low or shadows stretch across dense vegetation. Unlike poppers that announce themselves with every splash, a frog silhouette is subtle, reduced by 65% compared to a standard popper, making it almost invisible to wary bass hunkered under lily pads or thick grass. The science behind the silhouette is simple. Under low-light conditions, when ambient lux falls below 300, bass rely less on color and more on the crisp outline of prey moving overhead. At these light levels, a frog lure becomes a silent assassin, gliding through weed mats and skipping over pockets where oxygen is just high enough to keep fish active. Field data from Lake Huron tells the story. Frog-style topwaters produced 2.5 bites per hour, more than triple the 0.8 bites per hour of a popper in the same weed-choked zones. That's a 115% jump in strikes, driven by a lure that looks and moves like the real thing in the moments when fish are most willing to feed. The acoustic footprint is nearly silent, so the frog doesn't spook bass that have tuned out the daytime chaos. In the heart of summer, when glare and heat push fish into the shadows, a low-profile frog fished at dawn, dusk, or deep in the weeds is a proven winner, quiet, convincing, and deadly effective. Number 2. Texas-rigged creature baits turn structure into a strike zone even when summer heat pushes bass deep into cover. The secret is in the rig's design. A bullet weight slides ahead of a soft, multi-limbed bait, letting the lure glide weedless through brush piles, fallen logs, and dock pilings without snagging. Field telemetry from Lake Catherine shows that bass spend nearly 60% of daylight hours tucked into dense cover, where oxygen holds steady and shade breaks the surface glare. In these zones, the Texas rig's streamlined profile cuts snags by 85% compared to a standard jig, letting anglers work the bait right through the thickest brush. But it's not just about getting in front of fish. The scent-infused plastic holds its attractant for over 45 minutes at 30 degrees Celsius, staying potent even as water temperatures climb. The numbers are hard to ignore. In side-by-side trials, Texas-rigged creatures produced 2.6 bites per hour around structure, while jigs managed just 0.9, a 120% surge in hookups. That's the edge when fish are tight to cover and wary of anything that doesn't look or smell alive. With a Texas rig, every pitch into a log jam or under a dock becomes a real shot at a reaction strike, even in the dog days of summer. For anglers chasing cover-oriented bass, this setup isn't just versatile, it's the deep zone champion. And finally, in first place, weighted paddletail swimbaits stand alone as the ultimate summer solution when the heat pushes fish into the thermocline. The secret is in the physics. A 0.75-ounce head drops at 1.5 feet per second, cutting straight through the warm, oxygen-poor surface layer and reaching 9 feet in just 6 seconds. That puts the lure right into the strike zone, where dissolved oxygen holds at or above 6 milligrams per liter and water temperature hovers around 24 degrees Celsius, the metabolic sweet spot for largemouth and smallmouth bass. At these depths, fish still have the burst energy to chase, but only if the lure can get down to them quickly and stay in their line of sight. What sets the weighted paddletail apart isn't just its sink rate. The tail kicks out a vibration between 110 and 130 Hz, right in the frequency band that lights up a bass's lateral line, even in low visibility or stained water. That means every retrieve sends out a pressure wave that feels like a real, struggling bait fish, matching both the movement and the sensory signature that summer fish are tuned to detect. Field trials on Wheeler Lake drive the point home. Anglers using weighted paddletails averaged 4.2 bites per hour, compared to just 2.6 for unweighted versions in the same thermocline band, a 160% jump in performance, with all other variables held constant. The lure's 0.75-ounce profile keeps it stable in moderate current and allows for precise control when targeting the oxygen-rich layer just above the thermocline. It's not just about numbers. When dissolved oxygen dips below 6, fish lose the stamina for long chases, but in the cooler, deeper band, they're primed for short, explosive strikes. Weighted paddletails take advantage of this by staying in the active feeding zone longer, maximizing every cast. No other lure in the summer arsenal delivers this combination of depth control, vibration, and strike appeal under real-world tournament conditions. In the heat of summer, when most baits stall out or miss the mark, the weighted paddletail swimbait doesn't just adapt, it dominates. Across all 10 lures, one truth stands out. Summer success isn't about luck, but adaptation. Fish respond to heat, light, and oxygen in specific ways, so matching lure depth, movement, and realism to real conditions makes the difference. The best anglers read the water, not just the packaging. That's how you turn summer's toughest days into personal bests. Which lure surprised you most? Drop your thoughts below.